Hari Om Jyotiji.
Hari Om, Uncle. Welcome to third session of our camp. Different face now. Let us all join together in prayer. Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Harihi Om. Santa Kabir Das. Sant Kabir and the principle of Kaivalyam. In this camp, we will be imbibing the jewels of Sant Kabir Das alongside the revelations of Atharvana Veda Rishis in Kaivalya Upanishad. The beauty, the heart of this 15th century saint manifested itself through his mystic poetry, which expresses very distinctly one core philosophy: unity in diversity. This principle, when we render in Vedantic terms, we phrase it as Kaivalyam. Sajatya, Vijatya, Swagata Bheda Rahita, Kaivalya Atma. The very term of unity and diversity, which is the one thread that runs through all of Kabir Vani's and through all of the dohas in this composition, is the same principle which is core to Kaivalya Upanishad of unity. The very definition of Kaivalyam is the nectar of Sant Kabira's doctrine, that the eyes may see many, but the heart sees only one. In order for us to understand the importance of this vision of unity within the diversity that seems so obvious to us, we must first understand our mind and the way this diversity appears. So let us understand the vision of division first. Our gross vision of this entire diverse creation has been summated by Vedantic philosophy into one definition. It's called Panchabheda. That all of these differences that we see can be summarized just in these 5 ways, 5 main differences, 5 groups. Ishvara Jiva Bheda. Ishvara Jagat Bheda. Jiva Bheda, Jiva Jagat Bheda. And then Jagat Bheda. These are the 5. Means Ishvara Jiva Bheda and Ishvara Jagat Beda. We see distinction between God and man, Ishvara and Jiva, between God and man, between God and the world. We see division between man and man, between man and the world. And then finally, fifth, we see distinction amongst all the various padarthas of the world of objects. These are the 5 main groups that our vision of division falls into in this creation. Santa Kabira addresses the inherent oneness of all of these 5. But if I do dare say so, it is as though he introduces a 6th one also. It says, don't see distinction here either. Ishvara, Ishvara Bheda. He even goes forward in this way to say, stop creating distinctions in your mind within God and amongst your gods. They are all one. This was the beauty of that vision of Sant Kabir Das, that across religions, across cultures, his words would unite people. There is no my God and your God. There is no my people and their people. Destroy that Dhritarashtra sitting within all of us, who will, privy to the battlefield of life, he will stand on the side of adharma and question, Mamakaha, Pandavaha cha eva, my people and their people. This is the vision of the blind. Open our eyes, open our heart to truth. Kabir Dasa urges all of us. Open our eyes to see yaf pashyati sa pashyati, that he who sees this truly sees truth. What vision is this? Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyat savinashyantam yaf pashyati sa pashyati. That samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram, the same in all forms of life, in all forms of beings, positioned equally, samam tishtantam parameshwaram, positioned equally, and each is that supreme. That samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishvaram nahi nastyatmanatmanam tato yati param gatim. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says, samam pashyan iha sarvatra, that everywhere in this creation, amongst all of the objects, amongst all of the people, amongst all forms of gods worshipped, samavasthitam ishvaram, that he who sees the same Lord dwelling in each of us, yaf pashyati sa pashyati, he sees the truth, and he tato yati param gatim, he attains that highest goal of kaivalyam padamashnute. A vision of division can never produce a unified consciousness. We all want mukti, kaivalya mukti, more specifically. We are all Vedantins. We want kaivalya mukti. And whilst the definition of kaivalyam in our scriptures itself is bheda rahita, devoid of all distinction, yet we continue to create division within ourselves, in our own thoughts. We propagate distinction within our thoughts and outside in our world also. And this trap we all fall into, all of us. Every single one of us wants to be, how do we fall in this trap? We all want to be unique. We all want our relatives, our spouse, our children to be special, unique, outstanding. Agreed? There is no special Brahmana. Brahman is same in everyone. So if we want to be unique, we're actually moving away from that vision of Brahmatva, of sameness, that same thread running through all of us. Across the board, there's no distinction at the level of the substratum. But then if achieving causes us to create distinction amongst ourselves, then does it mean that we don't strive to achieve? So the answer is no, Don't strive to achieve. Strive to do our best. There's a difference. Strive to do our best instead, and by this we will still achieve. But we will achieve without creating distinction. If we were to teach our children, our grandchildren from a young age, you don't have to beat everyone. You don't have to top the class and do better than him. You just have to do your best. They'll beat everyone anyway, but they'll do it from a place of their own best, from their own standards. There's no need for them to compare themselves to others. When we compare, two things happen. No two beings, no two jivas have the same capacity. And so inherently born within us is this capacity. When I compare, if my natural capacity is not the level of others, no matter how much I try, I can never measure up. Then I live in constant despondence. If my level is above the average of those around me, then if I compare, I can fall short and still top them. I'll never reach my potential. Always best to do my best. The spirit of competition is not required, actually. The best in us only comes out when we offer it to a higher altar. And this is a much better place to act from than competition. Offer everything to that higher altar. Keep the substratum in mind while striving within the superimposition. In this way, we will achieve beyond our capacity because we no longer are limited by our finite capacities. Instead, we focus on the infinite. We channel through and we discover that latent power, that storehouse within ourselves that we never knew existed. People always think, if I try to focus on God, this notion I had also. If I try to focus on God while I'm doing my activities, I will be distracted. How is it possible to keep my mind there and here? Have we ever tried? Honestly, in some small moments, if we try to properly, genuinely, with our whole heart in it, focus on that Bhagwan and leave our subconscious mind there, while our conscious mind works within the world, what will happen? He stands over our shoulder and he guides that pen. Connected to him, mind becomes so calm that the most penetrating thoughts flow from that repository of brilliance. Inspiration flows from us. We think mind is distracted if I try to focus elsewhere while I'm doing my work. Mind is the greatest distraction itself, actually. Hand it over to that Bhagwan. Then that mind will no longer be our deluded identity. It will be an instrument in the hands of a master who can wield it with far more prowess and skill than we ever could. Every thought that leaves that mind becomes a masterpiece in the making. But this is an art. It's an art which we have to discover within ourselves. But all we have to do is try. There's a pristine skill, a method of holding on to that substratum whilst transacting in the superimposition. Bhagavan Sri Krishna calls it inaction, inaction. And only the best flows through us when we try to achieve this. We can be our best Brahman, like everyone else's best Brahman, when we stop striving to make ourselves distinct and special, but we strive for unity instead. Then the competition becomes my comrade. The pressure in life goes. If I achieve, then great. If they achieve, wonderful. That's good too. But this ability to relinquish in that manner, To say if I achieve, it's good and I want them to achieve too. That won't come so easily because this spirit of competition is so strongly built into us. But there's one key principle I want to share in Siddhanta, which makes this so much easier. That when I understand the concept that anyway, I can only achieve what is in my prarabdha to achieve. That other guy cannot affect my prarabdha in any way, actually. I do my best and I leave the rest. See, karmas determine what comes. Prarabdha will determine already. No one can take away what's destined for me, actually. Competition doesn't actually exist, you know. Competition is our own mind-made superimposition. If we really examine it, that one can affect this one, that I have to beat this one, that I have to top that one in order to achieve. Listen, yada bhavi natad bhavi, bhavi chet natad anyatha. That yad abhavi, that which is not meant for me, natad bhavi, nothing can bring it. And bhavi chet, if it is meant for you, natad anyatha, it can never be different. It will come for you. Nothing you do can bring to you what is not meant for you. And nothing can stop what is meant for you from coming. So just do our best and leave the rest, as our Gurudev says. Of course, this means we have to do our best to begin with first, so that if it is meant for us, it will come. But at the same time, no one and nothing else can mess with our prarabdha. We put ourselves under so much unnecessary pressure in life sometimes. And that's the beauty of spirituality. Spirituality teaches us how to take that pressure off while still doing what we need to. That vision without distinction, that abedha buddhi, which Sant Kabira stresses through all of his dohas, it means I am not in competition with anyone anymore. But I am offering everything to a higher altar instead. And so with that, I'm achieving my highest potential, but no longer out of competitiveness, now out of love. And love is the greatest driving force for our dynamism and our accomplishment. A far better driver than competition. There is no robust argument for keeping Bheda Buddhi, for instilling that notion into our children and our grandchildren in order to achieve more in life. Nothing that a vision of unity cannot achieve even better for us. When we're driven by love, where we take the competition along with us also as a comrade now, out of love, then even the process of achieving becomes so much more pleasant. I actually experienced this personally when I switched from the medical field to the spiritual field. In spirituality, I mean, in medicine, there's so much competition. You want to be the best. You want to top score. You want to be the one with the scholarship. You want to be the best amongst your group of doctors. You want the consultant to like you the most. So much competition amongst each other. It's junior level, middle level, senior. It's always there. Everyone, always competing. And you don't want to help the other because then they will top you. You know the answer to a question and you won't whisper it to your fellow intern because you were waiting for it to come to you so you can show you know. You know, that vision of division is so strong in the academic field. In spirituality, when I joined my fellow brahmacharis, there was so much sharing and love. We would share satsangs, we would share material. We have camp, invite another brahmachari. If everyone falls in love with them too, that's good. More people are imbibing the knowledge. More people will join their satsangs also. It's all about spreading the knowledge. Why did that vision of division dissolve so quickly? Because it's all about spreading the knowledge. It's all about a higher altar. When our vision switches, when we offer everything to a higher altar, that vision of unity comes so much more easily. And I realized if I had had this mindset when I had practiced professionally before, then I would have been so much more at ease. Just do my best, and what is meant for me will come. In creating division and competitions out there, we divide and destroy ourselves in here. And we do it professionally, personally, and sadly, even spiritually sometimes. There is competition amongst sadhakas also for who Swamiji likes the best. We know this. We don't say it, but we know this. The same distinctions that Sant Kabira talks about in religion and cultural circles, in these dohas, as we study them. Let's extrapolate it into our lives also. That we have extrapolated these into academia, professionalism, relations, comparisons among sadhakas. See how far our worldly mind has removed us from the goal of life. But within this very same mind that divides also holds the capacity to unite. And this is where the teachings of Kabir Vani can lead us to the feet of the Upanishad Rishis in the revelations of Kaivalya Upanishad. So we can see the link through these texts. But how do we mold our vision of diversity now to a vision of unity? Well, how better to reach a destination than to follow the directions of those who have been there? So what does Brahmaji direct Ashwalayana Rishi in Kaivalya Upanishad? So there he says that highest vision of Kaivalyam, unity, which you seek, he says, Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yogadavaihi. He said, know it through Shraddha, faith, Bhakti, devotion, love, and Dhyana Yoga, by dissolving that mind itself which creates division. Through this, no unity. Now, elaboration on that Kaivalya Upanishad mantra, Swamiji will do far greater job than I can. So I won't go into the mantra. We'll leave that for Swamiji. But I'll utilize that mantra as the root. And we will divert and see the seeds of that mantra scattered throughout Shastra. The same concept of Shraddha, Bhakti, Dhyana, Yogad, Avaihi comes in Itihasa also. So let us take a journey across time from Sant Kabir Dasa to Sant Tulsi Dasa. And we go to Jnana Deepa Prakarana of Sri Ramacharitamanasa, where the same concept of Shraddha to Bhakti to Dhyana Yoga leads us to Kaivalyam. And these words are used in that order there also in Sri Ramacharitamanasa. So we venture to our Itihasa now. We will take excerpts from sections of Jnanadeepa Prakarana. So in Uttar Kanda, in the opening chaupais of Jnanadeepa Prakarana, there's one third chaupai there. It says, Tavate jiva bhayau samsari Chutana granti na hoi sukhari Shruti purana bahu kahe upai Chutana adhika adhika ruchai. So this third chaupai there, it actually describes what we have been alluding to previously. This vision of Bheda Buddhi, the distinctions that come up because of our jivatva, because of this notion that I am this limited being. Here, Sant Tulsi Dasa, in reiterating the teachings that Kagabhushundi gives to Garuda, Kagabhushundi as the guru teaches his shishya, Garuda there. He says, since this jiva has gained this vision of division, he can have no happiness. Tavate jiva bhayo samsari, that he creates bhaya, his samsara itself comes out of this vision of diversity where there's actually unity. And he says, Katana granti na hoi sukhari, that as long as that granti is there, then na hoi sukhari, happiness is possible in his life. Veda Purana bahu kathe, that Vedas, Puranas, all of our scriptures, they now suggest certain devices for untying this knot, from untying it and let it become loosened. But the sad thing is that as we try to untie it, sometimes we knot it up even worse. When there's a ball of string and we try to untie, sometimes we just make it even worse. So this is what happens to us as we go through our spiritual journey sometimes. This is why the guru is needed to guide. So here Kagabushundi as the guru is guiding Garuda how to untie this knot. What is the secret that he reveals to him? He says the interior of this mind is utterly crowded and clouded with ignorance. The knot so much so it cannot even be perceived. So how can we untie it? But he says if somehow that Bhagavan were to bring about certain circumstances conducive to this disentanglement, then there's a probable solution to this challenge we call life. Now, what are these conditions that need to be brought about? Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yoga Davaihi. See how he puts it here. First condition is Shraddha. It says, Satvika Shraddha Dhenu Suhai Jo Hari Kripa Hridaya Basai Japatapa Bhrata Jamani Yama Para Je Shruti Kaha Subha Dharma Chara. Satvika Shraddha. This is the first condition. He says, suppose by the grace of God, the blessed cow in the shape of Satvik faith, Satvika Shraddha Dhenu Suhai, that Satvik faith comes to abide in our heart, fueled by Japa Tapa Vrata Niyama, fueled by all of our austerities, our sacred observances and positive virtues, as recommended by Vedas. If we follow these, then these Japa Tapa Vrata Niyama, they all fuel Shraddha within us, that faith to grow. And as that Sattvic faith grows, we now enter into that path, that marga, which can eventually lead us to that Kaivalyam. How does the path unfold? That Sattvic cow, in the form of faith, will only let its milk flow when united with her newly born calf. So I'm skipping through because it's such a long piece. We'll give the essence as we go through. Her calf, when united with, then that milk flows, which will deliver us the knowledge we need. And her calf is in the form of what? It's given here, bhakti. Love is the form of her calf. Shraddha, bhakti, dhyana yoga. So that's sattvika shraddha. When united with bhakti, now our journey begins to unfold. It says, it talks about japa, tapa, vrata. All of these are the fuel by which our shraddha leads to devotion. Shraddha in every act that we perform in life. This japa, tapa, vrata, niyama, they all imply our dharmas, our varna, ashrama dharmas as we go through our life. All of the professional and personal roles that we have to play, which we observe when we execute our daily duties in whatever phase or circumstance in life that we stand. Our duties as parents, workers, sadhakas, professionals, homemakers, all of this is our tapa. All of these roles itself are our sacred observances in life. And Kagabushundi advises Garuda that here itself infuse all of them with faith. See the higher purpose in executing these duties. Offer them to that higher altar of worship while performing them. That my wife is not my wife because I chose her. She's my wife because Bhagavan has sent her. That my husband is not my husband, and I don't do duty to him. I do duty to Bhagavan through him. When everything is offered to that higher altar, Sattvic Shraddha comes in those activities. And such faith, from such Sattvic Shraddha, the milk of devotion flows, that milk which unites us with devotion. By this, work becomes worship. Now, what to do with this milk of our righteous actions, born of Shraddha, yielding bhakti? Then, dhyana yogat avaihi. Do dhyana. Boil it in the fire of meditation. Dhyana yoga agni. Doha 117 brings the same concept of dhyanam now, the third concept from Kaivalya Upanishad comes. This Doha says, Joga geni kari pragat taba karma subha shubhalai buddhi siravai jnana ghrita mamata malajari jai सियावर रामचंद्र की जय. This Doha says, Yoga Agni Kari Pragata Taba. That Yoga Agni, that Dhyana Yoga Agni, that fire of Dhyana Yoga now. After kindling the fire of yoga, concentration, contemplation of mind, Dhyanam, Sant Tulsidas Ji continues as he scribes here. He says, consign all of your karmas now, Shubha and Ashubha, all of them. Offer these actions and let them burn in the fire of knowledge, in that fire of dhyana, and come to purify them in that fire of knowledge. He says, Buddhi sirave jnana ghrita, mamata mala jari jai. That through this knowledge now, mamata mala jari jai, that meditation on that knowledge cures us of our mamata, our notion of may or more, our vision of distinction, mine and yours. Burnt in the fire of knowledge through meditation, Shravana Purvaka Nididhyasana. This is what repairs our erroneous notions of multiplicity, and it endows us with that vision of unity. This is how Shraddha, giving bhakti through dhyanam, can now lead us to Kaivalyam, the actual goal that we want to achieve. And as we skip through this Jnana Deepa Prakarana, so I'm going through a bit closer to the end now, this concept of Kaivalyam, even the word itself is used there, that this is the result when that Shraddha can be transformed through bhakti and by medium of dhyanam, how it leads us to that goal of Kaivalyam. Coming to the end, one of the chaupais there, it says, Ati dhurlabha kaivalya parama pada Santa Purana nigama agama bada Rama bhagat soi mukutit kosai Anai jita avai parihai. Sant Tulsidas Ji says, Ati durlabha kaivalya paramapada. Actual excerpt from Upanishad is there, Kaivalyam paramam padam. So here, Kaivalya paramam pada. Same as excerpt is there. That Ati durlabha, very difficult is this Kaivalyam to achieve, this paramapadam. But even that state of supreme beatitude, which is most difficult to attain, Vedas, Puranas, Agama, they all declare that it comes so easily. How? Bhagata, through that bhakti, through worship of Sri Rama, that bhakti by which the mind becomes absorbed, that bhakti which translates itself into dhyana, where mind becomes absorbed into that Bhagavan Sri Rama. And that same final beatitude of Kaivalyam comes unsolicited, easily to this one. See how beautifully the line of thinking follows this Upanishad mantra. What is given in Vedas, in Sankshipta, in very small form, all elaboration is given in our Puranas and Itihasa. It can be found. So what is the essence of this teaching that we've been following through? That the internal bheda that exists within my mind, every diverse thought which I harbor, every act which I execute, all these multiple roles which I take on in my life, and all other multitudinous beings and relations, circumstances, all of this diversity, when approached through the lens of Shraddha, when executed with a mind drenched in faith, it all becomes a form of devotion. That Shraddha translates everything into bhakti. And with that love in our heart, live in meditation. A meditative view of the world is what that delivers. Siya Rama mai saba jaga jani, where I see my Sita and Rama everywhere. Shraddha and bhakti can lead to that vision of dhyanam. Live seeing the world from a meditative perspective means being alert of our mind. A meditative mind is a very alert mind. It's a mind where there's concentration on something higher in the midst of our actions. Not the way that we live now, all of us on autopilot most times, that I don't even think and somehow everything gets done. I get in the car and I drive and I don't even know where I'm going. Somehow I reach home. Autopilot, everything happens. We need to live on purpose. When we don't live on purpose, what happens? We wake up 20, 30, 50 years later and we think, where did my life go? Or what happened? Living in a rut is never going to deliver something pristine in our life. When we live on purpose, when we have concentration, keep our minds where our hands are, as Gurudev used to say, a life of alertness and vigilance. This is a life in dhyanam. When we stay aware in every act, only then we open up ourselves to the possibility of recognizing the awareness that is surrounding us. The presence of a conscious factor intuiting in and through the entire web of this creation. It is inextricably interwoven into every circumstance, every atmosphere, every person before me. That consciousness is vibrating through them. We just have to see it. I begin to recognize that consciousness that was ever there, that I was blind to all along. It was there in everything. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram. I see the one in the many now. Kaivalyam. But how did it start? Remember our beginning. It started with Shraddha. And so if there's one take-home message I want us to remember at the end of all this elaboration, Shraddha. Everything starts with faith. Sattvika Shraddha Dhenu Suhai. Shraddha Bhakti Dhyana Yogadavaihi. From the Upanishad Rishis, their pristine advice to our Ramayana and Itihasa, all of it advises us, infuse faith, inculcate faith, true heart-rendering, strong faith. That's all that it takes. You know, Jnanam requires so many sadhanas, require so much effort. To get Jnanam, we have to study hard. We have to do mananam. We have to reflect. We have to chant. Shraddha just comes. You just have to decide, I want to have faith. And it comes. We just have to deepen the love in our heart and that faith comes. This is one of the easiest qualifications. And we forget how this one is in our hands. Jnanam is so difficult. We need to find the right guru. We need to study the right texts. Shraddha can just blossom from within us. So Shraddha, this should be our main sadhana. And the Upanishad Rishis have shown us how from Shraddha everything will unfold. The problem for us is we don't know what faith means. We have to discover in ourselves, what does that word faith really mean to me? It's a faith. Faith is that which can move mountains. It's the faith that Arjuna had in Sri Krishna. When Bhagavan Sri Krishna moved the planets in order to block out the sun, Bhagavan Sri Krishna feigned an eclipse in order to save the life of Arjuna on that battlefield of Kurukshetra. Faith is that which can't move mountains, it can move planets if our faith is that strong in Bhagavan. This happened on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. How many of us have that strength of faith? And Bhagavan Shri Krishna, even in Bhagavad Gita, he tells us, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. The one that has faith, he will get it. He will achieve. So let us focus within. Let us bring that faith out of ourselves. Let us strengthen our sadhana in Shraddha. So, in the spirit of Udalaka Muni, when he cast his vision so lovingly on his son, Shvetaketu, and with all the love in his heart, the same words that he conveyed to his son, in that same spirit, I will convey those same words to you, where he said, Shraddhatsva Somya, Shraddhatsva. Udalaka Muni told Shvetaketu in Chandogya Upanishad, he said, have faith, my beloved child, and everything will be revealed to you. That Kevala Advaita Atma, you will know as yourself. So, have faith. With faith in our hearts, live with faith in our hearts. Sing the name of the Lord. So we'll do little Nama Sankirtana now. Please join me. Ram, 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 bolo. Ram, Ram, Ram. 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 Ram Sita, Ram Sita, Ram Sita, Ram. Ram Sita, Ram, bolo. Ram, Ram, Ram. Ram Sita, Ram Sita, Ram Sita, Ram. Ram Sita, Ram, bolo. Ram, Ram, Ram. Ram, 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 Ram. Ram, 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 Ram. Ram, 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 Ram. Ram 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 Ram. Shri Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Satgurunath Maharaj ki jai. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om, everyone. And we rejoin at 6:50 p.m. for Bhajan.